Okay, so let's start there. So yesterday, what we were doing, we were studying some functions of strings, and at least 20-30 functions we studied yesterday. And I expect that you have practiced those. Okay, until you practice all these things will not be good in your hand. You have to do a lot of practice. Only then you can say I'm a master of this. Okay, so there are few more functions left out. So let's finish them. So we can move ahead out of the string now. So there is one more function. Suppose I have a string. Let's say s. Again, I'm taking a string. Let me make a small letter. And s is suppose say again Python program. But please mute yourself. Somebody is unmuted. Okay. Let me mute manually. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So suppose this is the string s. And what we want to do, we want to replace this p by some other alphabet, or all the p's by some alphabet. So what we can do, suppose, so we can type s dot replace. Okay, s dot replace. Inside this, there are three arguments, out of which one is optional. So what you need here, one, your old string. Second one, your new string or new character, whatever you want to replace. And third one, count, means how many occurrence of old value you want to replace. How many occurrence of old value you want to replace. Occurrence means, just a second, let me mute here. Yeah. Okay. Occurrence mean how many times it is coming. For example, I want to replace the p. So how many times p is coming here? So p is coming 2 times. So if you want to replace by all, means all the p you want to replace by something else, then don't put any argument here. Don't put any argument here in the count. It's optional. So I can put a bracket here so that you can understand it's an optional argument. But suppose I want to replace only first p, not all the p. So let me do both the things. S dot replace, and I'm going to replace my p. I can use single character or I can use multiple characters. It's up to me. Right now I'm using single character p, and I want to replace it by z. Okay, and I'm not giving any argument here. Any argument as a count. Okay, so by default, what will do? It will replace all the occurrence of p with the z. So you will get here Zython, and how will you call it? Zerogramming, something like that. So let me run it. Can you check? All the occurrence of p have been replaced by the character z. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Next, suppose I want to replace only first one. I don't want to replace second one. So I want to replace only one occurrence. So what I can do? Now I can put the count section. I am putting 1 here. I want to replace only one occurrence of that. Okay. So let me run now. So now it will become Zython program. I hope it is clear with everyone.
Yes, sir.
Please tell me.
Sir,
Is it okay? Yeah. Yeah, please.
Sir, how to change the how to replace Z for programming?
How to replace? Pardon?
Z Z for P in programming rather than Python.
It cannot be done directly. You can do different way. You can do different way. There's a different option of doing that. If you have studied index properly, you must be understand that thing.
Okay.
See the index properly, you will be able to do that. Okay. See the index properly and you come to that. No issue with that at all. So please see these functions properly and tell me if any doubt is you are having in these functions. Any doubt whatsoever, please. I request everyone to please go through the functions, whatever functions we have done yesterday.
No doubt, sir.
Please check. Everyone, other than you, please.
No doubt, sir.
No doubt, sir.
That's great. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Now move ahead. Okay. Let's move that to the next point. Now suppose there are few more functions, although you will rarely use them. So for example, there is a function known as is lower. For example, I'm taking s and typing is lower. Okay. So what it does, it returns true or false. It returns true or false. I'm repeating once again. It returns true or false, depending upon whatever your character is. For example, every character of a string is lower character. So it is checking is lower. If that is the case, it will return the true. For example, in our case, all the characters are lower. So let me run it. You can see it's true, right? Similarly, there's a function is upper. Instead of is lower, there is a function known as is upper. Okay, let me run. And what should we receive? Tell me now.
False.
Yes,
False.
because every character of our string is only and only lowercase. So let me run this. We'll get a false. Okay, so most of the functions which are important for you, we have covered. If you want to go further into the functions, it's up to your choice. You can do as and do dot and press tab, and you can easily go with everything, whatever you want. But I don't think so. We have most of the functions we have already covered. I think barely 4 to 5 may be left out, which you will rarely use. If you want to go through them, please go through that. You can understand that. That's not a problem. But you will be rarely using them. Don't worry. But these are easy, same way to run. Any function you want to know, just go inside that function. For example, is upper. Type that function. Inside that, press shift and tab. It will tell you the definition, what it does. See, it's clearly indicating returns true if the string is an uppercase string, false otherwise. So any function definition you can easily study. I hope you don't have any doubt in that. Okay, so I'm giving you 2 minutes and giving you the task. You have already studied everything what we have done. Try to replace this P with Z, please. Somebody asked, all the things we have already studied, try to replace this P with Z, please do that. I'm waiting. Take 2 minutes. You can take your time. Try to replace the programming P with the Z. The replace function won't help you in this case. Please do that.
Sir, in step 3, 1 is replaced by 2.
1 is replaced by 2? No. No. If you do that, this P will both will become Z will become this one. This is telling the count, how many occurrences you want to replace. That's it. Do that. It will become Zython zogramming if you run it. See, it is just telling the count, how many occurrences of the same character you want to replace. Not that one. Please, I'm waiting.
Sir, hello.
Sir,
Yeah, please type in your computer and check it. Are you getting or not? Please.
Sir, if we do replace on the Zython programming,
In Zython programming, it can be done. It can be done in Zython programming for sure. In Zython
Sir,
programming, we can do that. In that case, we will have what will we will have? We will have 2 steps, right?
yes, sir.
We will have 2 steps. I think it's Harris, right? Harris?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I recognize your voice very well. Okay, so you can do that. That's not a problem. In 2 steps, it will be done now. If you want to do that, that is one way. You can do that. I use S dot, then I use replace. I'm copying pasting here. Okay. Same copying and paste. And let me save it somewhere. Let's say S itself. So S dot replace P by Z. So what it will give? It will give us Zython programming, right? It will give us Zython programming. So let me do that. Let me check what is S. So I'm getting Zython. Actually, I think what we have done, Zython, we have changed the S or something. What happened? What is S now? Let me check S first. Okay. Let me check what is S actually. S is Zython programming. Let's check it. Let me make it Python programming again back. Python programming. And now let's do that. Copy B T Z, and it will replace. Of course, it will do the same thing because we haven't specified Remember what? How many counts you want to replace? That's why it was replacing this P with Z and this P with Z as well. Both the thing we're doing. Okay. So let me do that. Okay. We do that. So what we are getting, we get Zython zogramming. Okay. But we want Python zogramming. So what we need? Very easy thing. Very easy thing. We again type.
-1s.
No, not -1. Not -1. Use same thing again. Just once more. Okay. But what you want to replace now? You want to replace starting Z with the P. So put Z here, put P here, and specifically mention one that you want to replace on the first occurrence of the Z. You want to replace only first occurrence of the Z so that this Z remains as it is and this Z becomes P. Okay, we did that. Let me check as we should get Python zogramming. Tell me please. Good, Harris. Check me everyone please.
Sir, I have used a different method.
Hi, this is the way. That's what I'm saying. Different methods are possible. Please tell me what you did. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, I will take a separate variable for Python and separate variable for programming.
No, that is not allowed. First, you have a complete variable known as Python programming.
Okay.
Okay. In that case, you can do very easily, right?
Yes, sir. It was very easy.
It is very easy. In this case, try something else if possible, please. I'm waiting. One way we have seen that. This is actually this is programming. Means things out of the box. What can we do? And somebody asked me a question. Immediately, a question came to me, and I gave you the task. And one of your participants quickly replied by using his brain. This is how the programming is learned. Try what different ways you can achieve. I'm still giving you 2 more minutes. One way we have done.
Z plus S bracket 1
Pardon?
to string indexing.
String indexing.
Through string indexing.
Let me check. Okay. So let me check what is the index of P. Okay. So again, I'm typing S. S is what? S is again Python programming. Okay. Let me check that. And what index we want to check? We want to check the index of Python, right? So I'm using S dot. How to check? Remember, anyone? How to check the index of that?
Index.
How to check? Yes, index function or the find function. Remember?
Yes,
Right?
find function.
Yes, we can use find function or the index function. Both will work. Both will work. It's entirely up to you. But remember, if it is not available, your find will show -1 and your index will show value error. Not a problem. So I'm using find here. Okay. And what we want to search? We want to search for P. But starting P, we don't want to search because it gives the first occurrence, right? So what we can do? Again, if you forget something, please go inside, press Shift tab. Immediately tells you these are the parameters. The value you want to search, start index and end index. See, both are in square brackets. Okay, so these are optional. So I don't want the first character to search. Okay, I'm putting P here and don't want to search first characters. Leave first character. Leave first character. And one more thing. Let me check the length of this string so that my life becomes much easy to place. What is the length of the string? Length of the string is how much? Just put S here. So it will tell you how many characters are there. It told me, including space, there are 18 characters. Fine. So I will specify first index to be 1. I didn't put 0. Remember, if I put 0, immediately it will take the P. So I put 1 here. And last index is coming to be 18. So let me take 19, right? Because it will take 1 less than that. And let me search it. It will give me 7, means this P has 7th index. Okay, can you count? 0, 1, 2, sorry, something bad happened here. Just a second. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7th position it is. Now let me do one thing. Let me try one more thing. Let me try one more thing. S of, what should we do? S of what element it is? Remember, it's a 7th index. Okay. Let me try to place Z here instead of P. See what happens. Get an idea what is happening. Did you see what happened? What it said? String object does not support item assignment. String object does not support item assignment means you cannot individually, once you have created the string, you cannot put the element, means replace the elements that way. String indexing is not reported. You cannot place anything else, means at 7th position, if you wish to put the Z, you cannot put it here. And that's why string is known as immutable. Remember that thing. Strings are immutable, the things which cannot be changed by indexing. Right now, we can see we are changing the index, they are not able to change. And especially remember all the elements which are immutable, this kind of assignments are not allowed. Let me show you example. There is one more immutable type known as tuple. So suppose tuple is, I created an element, tuple is always created with the help of these brackets, and I put 12 and 13. Okay. If I want to access these elements one by one, I can easily do. How? Again, same method, the string is accessed, put square bracket 0, it will give you 12, and access one element, it will give you 13. Okay, but the moment I try to change it, I try to put this kind of assignment, item assignment, like say, I try to put T of 0 equals to 1. It will immediately show the same error. You can see that. Check. This object is tuple, does not support item assignment. Can you see here? And in which the operators which does not support item assignments are known as immutable data types. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, remember this thing. Okay, so it is not possible. Intentionally, somebody said by indexing. So okay, come to that place and check it. We'll come to that. So now explore any other method. One way we have done already, how we can replace that. Okay, try any other method. You come across, please tell me. So should I move ahead?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So remember, any data type that does not support item assignment will be known as,
Immutable.
yes, immutable. Okay. But there are elements which are mutable. Example, let me create same type. Let me create a list. Okay. And now this is 12 and 13. Same way I'm doing that, but it is in square brackets. Okay. I do that. I access every element like 0. It will give me 12. If I will teach you everything. List, tuple, don't worry about that, because it is coming here, mutable and immutable difference, so that you can understand. Sorry, 13 I have to put 1. Okay. See, 13 I'm getting. Now I am doing item assignment. 0 equals to, let's say, 13. It won't show error. It won't show error. See, right? Now if I check my list, it will be 13 and 13. Earlier it was 12 and 13. At 0th position, I have placed 13 now. Okay, so it will become 13 and 13. Let me check L. Can you check? Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
remember, any data type which is supporting this item assignment, that means it is mutable. It is mutable, and it is not supporting, that means it is immutable. So be cautious in the same. Okay, let's move ahead. I think most of the things about the strings we have already covered. So now let us move to the other things, that is arithmetic operators. Okay, next thing we are going to cover there is arithmetic operators. There are different arithmetic operators, and everyone knows what are the arithmetic operation: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Remember, exponentiation, modulus, something like that, right? So I'm going here, and what are the different operators? For example, operators are addition. Everyone knows what addition does. subtraction. We know that multiplication by the star. Multiplication will be done with the help of star. Remember that thing, okay? Then your division, normal division. It will give you floating point numbers. Whatever you will give, normal division you do. For example, I divide 6 by 5. So you should give me 1.20 something, okay? There is one more division. There is one more division in the Python, which is known as integer division. And we denote it by 2 slashes. I'll teach you in few minutes only. Okay, this is known as integer division. Okay, it is known as integer division. Then another operator is your modulus operator, which gives you remainder. It gives you remainder, right? And there is one more operator which is indicated by 2 stars, and it is known as exponentiation, means power. Okay, so these are the different operators which are available in Python, different arithmetic operator. Let me check each and every one by one. Example, I am doing 2 plus 2. What it will give, everyone knows. It will simply give me what? It will give me 4. Fine. Now I am doing 3 minus 2. What it will give me? Everyone knows. It will give me 1. Okay. Earlier I was pressing Control plus Enter. Now I am pressing, remember, Alt plus Enter. So it is taking me to the next line. Okay. So again, next one. Suppose I am doing 3 multiply by 2. It will give me 6. Right now I'm pressing Control plus Enter. Let's see what happens. Sorry, I'm coming here. I'm pressing Control plus Enter. It's not giving me the new cell. Okay, so I move ahead. 3 into 2, we got the 6. Now divide 3 by 2. Run it. I'm using Alt plus Enter. 1.5 floating point number. Now see, I'm dividing 3, but this time I'm using integer division. This time I'm using integer division. Okay, sometimes people call it as floor division as well. You'll learn the reason as well. Okay, let me run it. Did you see what answer I get? Ideally it is 1.5. So in normal mathematics, what we do, if anything is 0.5 or above, we round it to the next higher digit, but it doesn't do that. It brings to a lower digit, lower integer. Remember that thing especially. Okay, that's why some people call it as floor division as well. Because there are two kinds of operations, ceiling and flooring. Flooring happens at the bottom beneath us, and ceiling is what? Our ceiling fan. Have you heard the word ceiling fan? Where is the ceiling fan? Ceiling fan is above our head. So when we are going upside, it will be ceiling. When we are going downside, it will be flooring. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me take one more example. Let me divide 9 by 5. Even that, it is giving 1.8, I think it will give, right? Ideally, if I'm using 5.9 by 5, it is giving me 1.8. But when I am doing 9 by 5, it will still give me 1. Let me run this. Is it fine? Means it is not rounding to the nearest integer. It will round down. That's why some people call it as floor division. I hope it is clear. Okay. Next operator, for example, I divided again 9 by 5, but I'm using the modulus operator, which will give me the remainder. So if I divide 9 by 5, how much remainder I will get? I will get the remainder to be 4. So let me run it. I hope it is clear with everyone. Let me divide 3 by 2. Sorry, not 3 by 2, 3 modulus 2. Okay, it is giving me 1. Can anybody tell me smartly where we can use this modulus operator? In any application?
Find even or odd, sir.
Yes, very good. Very good. This is the best answer.
We want
Right?
to reverse the number also.
Yeah, anywhere means if you want to check it out, there are lots of applications.
Like if you want to get the last digit from the number one by one.
Last digit of the number one by one. How come? Means you are telling a complete application, right? In the
Yes.
complete application. Yeah, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Fine. Now let's move either. For example, please mute yourself. Okay. Next one is the power. Suppose I'm using 3. I'm using exponential. Exponential is denoted by 2 stars. So what it will do? It will do 3 to the power 2. It will do 3 to the power 2. So what will we get? 3 to the power 2 will be 3 square, right? Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Right?
9.
So we should get 9. Okay. If we use 3 to the power 3, what we will get? 27. Right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
Right? We will get 27. So these are your mathematical or sorry, arithmetical operators which are available in your Python. But there is some conditions to use that. And what is that? Which is known as operator precedence. You must have heard this word earlier. Have you studied BODMAS in your 12th class somewhere or 10th class?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
It's very
Yes,
much
sir.
like this. It's very much like this precedence. It's very much like this. Okay. And what is the operator precedence? First priority is given to parenthesis. Okay. First priority is given to the parenthesis. Second priority is given to the, understand properly each and everything. Okay. Second priority is given to the exponentiation. Third priority is given to the multiply or division. Means both are at the same level, multiply or division, right? And fourth priority is to the addition or subtraction. Okay. Addition or subtraction. This is the operator precedence. Means first priority will be given to the your parenthesis. Second priority will be given to the exponentiation. Third priority will be given to the multiply or division, and fourth priority will be given to the addition or subtraction. Okay. So let me convert it to the raw RBC or make it markdown. Doesn't matter. Okay. I'm running it. Move. Oh, sorry. Better I make it raw NBC convert. That's better. Fine. So I'm moving ahead. Okay. So let me type an expression. Okay. I'm typing an expression. Suppose x equal to 10 plus 3 multiply by 2. Okay. Now I want to print what is x. So understand what it will result. Always see the operator precedence. So among here, two operators there only, addition and multiplication, which has the highest priority. See, addition or multiplication. Multiply has the higher priority. So first of all, multiple operation will be occurring between 3 and 2. Okay, so we will get 6. Once 6 is computed, then 6 and 10 will be added. So result will be your 60. Is it fine, everyone? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, suppose there is one more function. Now this time it is x equals to bracket, any parenthesis, 2 plus 3 multiply by 10 minus 3. So remember the operator precedence. First priority is given to the parenthesis, right? So we have parentheses or not? Yes. So whatever is under the parenthesis, please compute that first. So what is inside? Inside it is 2 plus 3. So once we compute it, what we will get? First of all, example, this will reduce to this. 5 multiply by 10 minus 3. Okay. First priority we solved. Means first parentheses have been computed. Next is what? Two operators are there. Multiplication and subtraction. Which is given higher priority? Of course, multiplication. So first of all, this will be computed. So what we will get? 50. Now simple. One operation is remaining. Just subtract 50 minus 2. What should be the answer? 48. So let me print it and check it. Sorry, it is 3. Here it is 3. I was doing 2. Okay, fine. Please check it and tell me. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, so keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. Although it has been already studied in the basic classes as well. Means in your, I think 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, we studied these things. What is parentheses? What is multiplication? And normally there we call as BODMAS, if you remember. Okay, so moving ahead, next step. So strings, almost everything we have covered. Now we are moving to a very important function, which is known as input function. Now what we will be doing, we will be asking user to enter something. Okay, we will be asking user to enter something. So far, what was happening? We were giving something every time we were giving something. Now, next time we are going to ask the user, please enter something. Example, you open a Gmail. Gmail asks you, enter your username and password. Okay? Same way, it is going to ask you. In C programming, if you remember, there is a function scanf. Anybody remember? If you have studied C,
Yes, sir.
how do we take input
Yes,
from
sir.
the user? Using?
Scanner.
Yes, here it is input. Okay, one more thing, what it will do, let's check. Suppose I'm going to ask a user his age. So I will use age variable. I use a variable age equals to, means whatever user is going to input, I will store that in the variable age. Okay, so age equals to function name is input. Okay, function name is input. And inside this, you will write your string. Whatever you want to ask him, type that string here. Type that string, whatever you want to ask the user, type that string here. For example, and normally, you know, strings are typed by the single quotes or double quotes. I'm typing, please enter your age. Okay, and I want to look it good, so I put some space and colon, and after some that also some space. Okay, that's it. So once I run it, it will ask the user to enter his age, and whatever value the user will input, remember, doesn't matter he's using string or using text, input function always gives you string only. Remember that thing. Even if I enter numeric digit, example, let's see, he's asking me the age. Okay, let me run it. I'm running it. Immediately a cell pop up. Can you see? Which is asking, please enter your age. Okay, let me put a numeric number here. Let's say my age is 23. Although it is not 23, I'm typing here. Okay, I typed 23, right? Let me press enter. Done. Now age is storing 23, but you will see what is the data type of age. Let me check the type of age. It will show string. Although I've entered numeric data, what age will be storing? Age will be storing whatever value you have entered. You have entered 23, but in a string format. Let me check that. Can you check? What's showing? Age is showing that it is a string data type. And let me check the value of age as well. It will show a string. Can you see 23, but quotes are there? Is it okay with everyone? So remember, whenever we are taking the input from the user with the help of input function, it is all the time going to return a string only. So you have to be a bit cautious. Don't consider I'm putting numeric values, it will take numeric value. No, we do have other options. You will deal with that. Okay. Is it okay with the input function? Please tell me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Whatever statement you want to write, just write. And age will store what value the user will input. Whatever value the user will input, it will store that value, not your this string value, nothing else. The string value is just to display. Please enter this or enter this, nothing else, nothing more than that. Now, there are some functions, remember, which is known as type conversion or something. You can say that. Why it is used, you'll understand that. Means suppose what this age function will return, remember, age will return a string. But we do have an option to convert them into an integer, because age should be an integer number, a numeric number, right or wrong? Age is a number is a numeric digit. My age is a numeric data type, right? So should be numeric. Why it is using as a string? So there are options, and for that you can use certain functions like int function. Int function. Okay, what int function will do? If x is like a string, but stringed version of a number, it will convert that into the integer. Let me take an example. Let me remove this and come here and let me type inside the x quotes so that it understands strings. Let me take 23. So what it will do, it will convert that into the integer number. Can you see? This quote has gone now, which is coming earlier. We put here and it has gone. If you want to check, let me check here. Let me put a type here. Let's see what this int will return. And you can see it will return int only. Right? So int function is there, but if you are putting alphabet here, can alphabet be converted into integer? No. Let me run this. First of all, it will throw an error. Let me run this. Let me run this. See what I'm getting. Everyone got it. Why it is going error? Because I have put the argument, a wrong argument here. I have put it a wrong argument here. Integer means it should have a number from 0 to 9 or something like that, which has a base of 10.
Sir,
So-
if we want to access
Yeah.
the ASCII code of A,
That is a ORD. Actually, not a sky code of it. That is a function known as ORD. Let me show you that. I'll come to that very soon. There's a function known as ORD. And let me put A inside this. Okay, you'll get it. Don't worry. This is the number for that. And you want to get back to again what 97 represents. Don't worry. Just come here and type CHR. And inside that type 97. Okay, same number. You'll get back to A. Hope it is clear.
yes,
Fine.
sir.
Okay. So we were coming here. So okay, it is not be available here. It is not available means A you cannot convert into integer. A you cannot convert into integer. That's why it is showing an error. Means it can convert to the integer, which means numeric data is represented as a string only. Only then. For example, I may put 23. It will do that. Or any other number. 23 we just checked. It did perfectly. Similarly, like we have an int function. There is a function also known as float function. Same way, it will convert into the floating point number. And similarly, there is a function known as bool function, which will convert into the Boolean true or false. And there is one more function known as string function again. Okay, let me check one by one each of those. Let me come to the down cell. And suppose I'm using a number 3.2. String we just checked. Let me take 3.2. What it does, it gave me 3. Rounding down, right? Let me make it 3.6 and run this. Again, rounding down only. Okay. Remember, especially that in mind, where the people used to do mistake, it normally rounds down. There is a different function as well. Let me tell you that. Let me finish this first of all, then we'll come to that. Okay. Similarly, suppose there is a function float, as I told you. I put 3 inside this, which is an integer. It will convert into the floating point. Okay. Similarly, you want to convert into true and false value. It can do that. You want to convert anything into the string. You can do that. Okay. So we were coming from here. What is happening? This age is represented as a string. So one way to do that is I'm copying the same function again so that I can go here and I'm using that. Let's say I'm writing same function age. Okay. One way to convert it back to the integer is I can use age equals to int of age. Will it be fine or not? Please tell me.
Yes, sir, it will be fine.
Right? Yes. This is what. Second way is also there. Age equals to before this entire function is going to give me the string of 23, right? Entire function. So here itself I can write int and then this complete function which is written here. Whatever written here, entire thing. So you don't have to write second instruction. Means you can ignore that. Okay, any method you can prefer. So let me run that first this way. And let me print age after that. Let me check. Please enter age. I enter 23. Okay, fine. See, no quotes there. Perfectly fine. Now in single statement, if I want to do, I will use this. I'll come here, run this, enter 23. Done. And you can check your age, what age is giving. Simple. So which one is preferred according to you? I prefer this one, right? I personally prefer this one. But if you are a new beginner, the most of the beginners prefer this one because they want to do step by step. But once you become means a bit experienced in the programming, you will try to write your code shorter as possible as possible. It's entirely up to you. I'm not saying this is the wrong method of doing. It's perfectly acceptable anywhere. But if you want to write shorter code, means make the code as small as possible, go for this. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes, sir, no problem.
Yes, sir.
And one very,
sir.
very important thing is there. Suppose there are some inbuilt functions. We are studying here mathematics, right? So we did addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Even you can do factorial or sine, cosine, and abundance amount of functions are there. Abundance amount of functions are there which are available in the Python. But how can you do that? There are few built-in functions and few functions you have to import. Let me tell you, for example, there is built-in function known as round. There is built-in function known as round. Let me put 2.9 here. Okay, so it will round to the nearest integer, and nearest integer in this case will be 3. Can you check? Nearest integer to 2.9 is 3. Similarly, you want to the absolute value of that number. So I am put AF, ABS, and I'm putting, let's say, minus 2.9. So it will ignore the sign and tell me what is the magnitude. The magnitude is 2.9. So respective of the sign, it will tell me what is the magnitude. Okay, but in case you want factorials, direct function is not available, but although you can write the factorial program very easily in the Python, very easily in the Python. Within 3 to 4 lines, you will be able to do that. Not a big thing, right? But there are, if you want to use inbuilt function of the Python. So let me tell you a beauty of that. To simple write, import math. Import a module known as math. I'm running that. Okay. Once I run this math object is giving you abundance of options. See, type math dot. See, instead of directly using as a math, you can use create a alias as well. It's entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. Remember, we use import pandas as PD, if anybody remembers.
Yes, sir.
Right? We created an alias. So we can create alias here as well. Okay, let me show you without alias first of all. So I'm putting math dot and pressing tab. And see. Now see here. How many mathematical functions are at your disposal now? Can you check? Sine, tan, square root, even more. Log 10, factorial, exponential, cos h, the cos hyperbolic, sine hyperbolic. Everything is there. Means most of the mathematical functions are there. So those who want to work in the research field and want to compute some mathematical formula in that particular scenario, this math module is going to help you. For example, I want to compute factorial of something. So I'm going to type fact. I will type just fact. Let's see if only function available with the FA is factorial. Let me press tab. 2 functions are there, right? One is facts, one is factorial. I want to take factorial. Let's click factorial and let me put any value. Suppose let me compute the factorial of 5. Okay, so how much it will be? 5 for the 20, 23 just 60, 62 is 120, right? So it should return me 120. Let me type it and let's run it. Is it fine? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Same
Yes,
way.
sir.
Okay, so entirely up to you. Whatever function you want, see in the library and use it. Okay, one more thing. As I told you, instead of directly using as a math, I can use create alias. Suppose I'm importing math as M. Import math as M. Let's run it. Okay. Now instead of typing math here, you can use M here. M dot. Same thing will happen. M dot press tab. I hope you understand the meaning of alias now very well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's very important. So it doesn't matter. Some people use directly the objects. Some people create alias of that. It's entirely your choice, whatever way you prefer. It's entirely your choice. And you want to learn about more about the math function, especially those who are working in the research field. Let me show you that. How can you learn about the more about the math functions? Just go to the Google and type Python 3. because we are working on the Python 3 only math module. Just type this Python 3 math module. You will see a complete documentation of the mathematic functions. Okay, so there are lots of functions, math.ceil, combine. So you can study them, and as per your research requirement, you can use them if you want to use them anywhere. Okay, if you want to writing a complex expressions and all, definitely you will require this. Okay, so lots of functions are there. Just go there, and whenever as per your requirement, at least keep in your brain that there are math functions in the Python. Whenever required, I will use that. That's the main agenda here. I hope it's clear with everyone, whatever we have covered till now.
Yes,
Everyone?
sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's come to one more thing. Let it be. Let me remove this. Suppose I'm typing a statement. Before that, let me tell you about conditional operators. Or sorry, rather conditional, we can call it as comparison operator. That is proper word. Comparison operators. And everyone knows what are the comparison operators. It means when we want to compare something, whenever we want to compare something, we will use comparison operators, and they will result only in two outputs. Either it will give true or it will give false, depending upon the condition is true or false. Okay, it is going to return either true or false. That's it. The comparison operators output will be always true or false, nothing else, right? And what are the different comparison operators? Greater than, everyone knows the name. Less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, okay, equals to, for the equals to, place two equal signs. For equal to, press comparison. When you are pressing using equals for the comparison, put two equal signs. Okay, and not equal to, for the not equal to, this one, the symbol just above the one in your keyboard. The symbol just above the one means the one key is accompanied with the one key. So by pressing shift, you can access that. Okay, and equals, that is not equal, and they will return true and false value. Is it fine? So let me check that. Let me run this, and let me, for example, I'm pressing 3 greater than 2. Okay, I'm checking 3 greater than 2. What will happen? Of course, it is going to return true. Can you check? Okay, if I'm going to check 3 equals to 2, what it will return? Of course, it is going to return false. One more thing. Suppose I'm typing bag greater than apple. Okay, what it will return? Any idea?
Error.
No, won't return
False.
error. No, it will check. Let me check how false or true. All depends on when we are comparing this, right? When we are comparing string by this means greater than sign. So how it gets compared is, before that, let me do one thing. That's easier. Let me do one thing. Let me use only one character B. You'll understand that better. Greater than A. Okay, and let's see what it returns. Can you see what we get? True. Why? It checks the Unicode character of B and A. The way we earlier find it out. Remember, using the ORD function.
Yes, sir.
Yes, same thing it checks. It checks the ORD of B. Let me check that. Okay, it is 98. And let me check the ORD of A. Of course, when it is giving true, then this Unicode number of A will be 100% smaller than B. So it should be less than 98. Let me run this. Okay, in Python, every character is represented by a numeric number known as Unicode character. Okay, every character. So if we are putting like this way, it is going to compare those numbers. Is it fine, everyone? So now if we run this, you can check it out. It will give true, because B is bigger than A. That's it. Is it okay?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Perfectly fine. Okay. Now we have studied the comparison operators. Now coming to the my favorite part. I love this thing. All the things were just the beginning that we started. Now comes the main part where you will using the logic. Logic of what? Conditional state. All you must be familiar with that. Conditional statements. Okay. Means you want certain statements of the program to execute if one particular condition is true. Otherwise, do something, whatever you want, right? For that purpose, we use conditional statements. For example, let me come to that. Suppose in my room, there is a temperature. So I put temperature here is 29. Okay. Temperature is 20. A variable is there, whose value is 29. What's happening is that if the temperature is above or equal to 30, if temperature is above or equal to 30, I want to instruct someone, please turn on the AC. Understand properly. If temperature is greater than or equal to 30, I want to instruct that please turn on the AC. If nothing is like that, if it's not satisfied, perfectly fine. I want to say, okay, the fan will be sufficient. Okay, so what we can do, see, understand. For that purpose, there's a statement known as if statement. So you will type if. Okay. After if, you will write your expression which will result in Boolean values. I repeat once again. You will write that expression which will result in Boolean values, means either true or false. Remember that. Okay. Only that expression will be put it here, which will result in true or false. Okay. So understand what I am putting here. I'm putting here temperature. And why? What I want to do? I want to check my temperature is greater than or equal to 30 or not. So I put temperature greater than or equal to 30. So of course, this particular expression is going to return Boolean value. If this condition is going to be true, it will return true, else it will return false. Is it fine? So what I want, if temperature is greater than or equal to 30, after that means writing your expression, put colon. After writing the expression, don't forget to put colon. I repeat once again, if space, put your expression which should return a Boolean value and put colon there. After colon, press enter. And you can see this cursor is not at extreme left. It is somehow indented. And the distance between the extreme left and this indentation is 4 white spaces. Remember that thing. 4 white spaces. So anything you are writing from this indentation, which will be executed if this statement is true. For example, I'm typing print, okay. Hey, it's warm. Please turn on the AC. Okay. Second, whatever I want to put, it's up to me. Print. Weather is so hot today. Whatever you want to do, execute. If the if condition is true, put in the same indentation of the if. Is it fine? Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now remember, if you move out of the indentation, I'm coming here and pressing backspace. I reach here and I typed print. All done. Example. So what is going to happen? Remember, this statement is not part of the if statement. Remember, it is at the same level as if. It is at the same level as if. Okay, but these two print statements are coming inside the if statement. So if condition is going to be, if this condition is going to be true, then these two statements are going to be executed. Okay, If condition is not going to be true, this statement will not be executed, but your interpreter will move to the next one. Even if this condition is true, first this will be printed, then this will be printed, and 100% this is going to be printed because it is not a part of conditional state. So it is going to be print for sure. Okay, and means doesn't matter this if conditions get satisfied or not satisfied, this is always going to be printed because this is not a part of conditional statement. I hope it is clear with everyone. So in current scenario, can anybody tell me what will be printed?
All done.
Yes, very good. Because here temperature is 29. So this statement will be checked. The statement will be checked and this condition will fail. That means false. So these two will be skipped. Okay, so you'll be out of this if statement and you will move to the next statement and you will print all done. Let me check. Is it fine? In case, let me one more thing. Yeah. In case, again copied here, and I made the temperature to be 31. Now, what will be printed?
All three statements.
Yes, very good. Very, very good. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes.
Is it clear? Please tell me. And you may say that this all is coming here because we have put a space here. Let's remove the space. No issue. Let's move the space here. Okay, so all will come aligned. No problem with that. Let me run this again. All done. And let me run this again. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Suppose now move ahead. Now suppose you want to check multiple if conditions. You want to check multiple conditions. Okay, right? For example, I want to check, again, I'm going, let's say temperature equals to 25. Okay. And I'm typing if temperature is greater than or equal to 30, do what? Print, turn on the AC. Okay. Now see ahead. If temperature is greater than or equal to 30, turn on the AC. If this condition fails, check again. If this condition fails, elif. Instead of else if, here it is a elif. And as many elif statement you want to check, you can do that. As many elif statement. It's up to you how many you want. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In C programming, we have else if. Here we have elif. So I'm using elif. Temperature is greater than 20. Temperature is greater than 20. Print fan will be sufficient. Okay. Is it fine? We want further condition to be checked. Go ahead. Aleph. Temperature is greater than 10. I'll come to a very important thing. You'll come to that. Okay. Print it's getting cooler day by day. Cooler day by day. Okay. You can stop here. But if all the condition fails and you want to put something, then you can go optional again. I'm repeating, that is optional. You can use a else statement and put print, hey, winter has arrived. Get your warm clothes out. Okay. So how it will execute, understand that thing, please. First of all, it will check temperature. It will check the variable of temperature will be 25, doesn't matter. It will go here and see, does my variable satisfy this condition? So it will check temperature is greater than 25 or 30 or not. If it is greater than 30, greater than or equal to 30, fine, mean 30, 31, 35, fine. This condition will be executed and rest of the statements will be nulled, not considered at all. Let me take an example. Let's put it 31 and check. Can you check? Because our first condition is satisfied, we need not go ahead. We need not go ahead. Only first statement is executed, done. Move out of the statement. We are out of it, right? Suppose this condition fails. I put 23. Means temperatures, of course, not satisfying this condition. Then I will go to this second condition. Is 23 greater than 20? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So this condition will be executed and rest will be skipped. We run this. Is it fine, everyone? Okay. Now
Yes.
Yes, sir.
move ahead. Let's go to 16. Okay. So this condition is failed. This condition is failed. I moved here. Yes, this condition is satisfied. Okay. So now this will be executed and nothing else. Okay. Let me run this. Can you see? Lastly, suppose I put the temperature to be less than 10. Okay, which with the condition which is not available here. The condition which is not available here. Let me put 6 here. Let's see. So all these 3 test conditions will fail. So what we will get? This one only. Okay. So I'm running this. Please check it and understand this code very, very well. Please, everyone. You may say that, sir, if I put 31, 31 will be greater than 20. Or if I put whatever I put, doesn't matter. So remember that thing. It checks the condition. So it's always better to put your condition properly. Always put your condition smartly. How they should be put it inside the else statements. First of all, we'll check first condition. If it fails, it moves to the next condition. If it fails, move to the next condition. And everything fails, then the else. It is not mandatory. I repeat again. Else is not mandatory at all. Else is not mandatory. Means you can remove this. It's up to you. If can be used in isolation also. See, earlier we used if in the isolation. No elif. We can use it with elif. It's up to us. We can even use if and else also. Just if and else. That's it. Enough. Else is always optional. You can just use if and else. Enough. We can use if, elif, and else. Tell me, everyone, any doubt, any single doubt in this, please?
No, sir.
Okay. This is the prime thing that you will be understanding. You will be needing. Very, very, very important thing. Is it okay, everyone?
Yes, it's all clear.
That's great. So let's now move to another thing in the statement only. There are some logical operators. Earlier we had arithmetical operators. Now we have some logical operators. It helps you to write complex Boolean conditions. It helps you to write complex Boolean conditions. You will come to that. Okay. So I'm typing about logical operators. Okay. And what are the logical operators? There are 3 logical operators here: and, or, not. And, or, and not. Okay. And if you are from everyone is from engineering background.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then if it's the case, then no problem with that. You must be aware of the AND condition. If all the inputs are true, if all the inputs are true, then only output is going to be true, right? In case
Yes,
of
sir.
OR, even if single one is true, even if single one is true, the output will be true. And not does what? It just negates, turns true into false and false into true. Okay. Let's suppose I want to create a program where I will ask users some inputs. Okay. Like, what are the inputs? First, he belongs to a high income group or not. I repeat once again, he belongs to a high income group or not. Second, let's say he has good credit score or not. Two things I want to know. Means I want to know he belongs to high income group. Okay. Second, he has good credit score or not. Or let's say we define credit score to be above 300 is considered to be good. Example. Okay. If these two conditions satisfied, if these two conditions satisfy means high income group and 300, like this. Okay. High income group and 300, like this. Then we can say that you are eligible for the credit card or you are eligible for a loan. Otherwise, you are not eligible for a loan. Is it okay what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
We want to ask two things, whether you belongs to a high income group. You will say yes or no. Second, we want to ask, please type your credit score. Is it fine?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Before that, actually, I just remembered one thing. There is a operator in a string which is known as membership operator. You'll understand that thing in just a second. For example, I'm using a string, let's say Python. Okay, I'm running it. And because this may help you out, that's why I'm telling you. And I type P, okay, in S. Understand, see what I'm typing? P in S. Let me run this. Can you see what I'm getting? What I just checked? I just checked that my P alphabet that I'm asking is available in that string or not. Is available in that string or not. So it will be beneficial for you in if statements, especially if you're writing some example code comparisons. Okay, you want to check somebody's password. If this is available in that or not. If this is available in that or not. Remember, when we write the password, they ask it should have numbers, it should have alphabets, it should have at least one special character, it should have at least one capital letter, right or wrong. So we check that there is some comparison which automatically happens when we enter the password. Okay, so remember this in operator, what this in operator will do. I hope you will remember this thing. Okay, suppose I want to check, suppose pyt is available or not. Doesn't matter, only py, you can type pyt as well. So again, it will show true. Okay, suppose I type zyt, of course it is going to show false, right? So remember that, because I told you, because in if statement specifically, it is going to help you out. It is going to help you out in your string. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I hope no doubt till this point. Okay. One more thing I want to tell you. Suppose there is a variable known as x and its value is 10. Okay. I want to increase its value by 3. So one way to write is x is equal to x plus 3. Is it fine? I can write this way. I want to increase x by 3. So I write x is equal to x plus 3. There is one more way which professional programmers use. One more way. They don't write like this. Okay. They write like this: x plus equals to 3. And these two statements that I've written here and here are exactly same thing. If you are seeing x plus equal to 3, it means that x is equal to x plus 3. That's it. Means the source and destination both are same. We are using x as a destination, using x as a source, and adding to that number 3. Similarly, if you want to subtract, suppose I want to perform x equal to x minus 3. So how can I write? X minus equals to 3. I'm putting comment here so that you can recall all these things. I will share this file with you again. Tell me, is it okay? And this type of writing is known as augmented operation. Augmented assignment operator. Remember, this type of assignment is known as, what the way of writing this way. We write this way, no? It is known as augmented assignment operator. Let me show you that. Okay, I'm running okay, I missed here. Hash. So I'm running again. And I'm using here, let's say x is equal to 10. Okay. So once again, I'm running here, x is equal to normal way, x plus 3. So everyone knows what the x will return. It will return me 13. Right? Now suppose I again take x equal to 10 because above text the values has been changed. Now I'm, instead of writing this way, above way, I'm typing x plus equals 3. And I'm printing x. Okay. Run this and see what is getting. Both are giving exactly same results. Okay, so most of the professional programmers, when we will see their Python code, they will be writing this way. I hope you will remember this thing. Okay, you will see their code, they will be using this kind of operators, assignment, augmented assignment operators. This is also augmented assignment operator, which is written here. Tell me, is it okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, remember that in mind. You may see some codes like this. It's not mandatory that you use this way, but most of the professional programmers use this way. Okay, so it's entirely up to you. You want to write, you want to make your life easy by writing a code which is cleaner, means you are able to understand. Put it that way, because this thing that person cannot, this thing everybody can understand. Even if I show this code to you, you will understand, okay, x is equal to x plus 3. But if you haven't studied augmented assignment operator, you won't be able to recognize what is written here. Hope it is okay, everyone. Okay, so remember
Yes,
that in mind. So let's get back to our work, what we were doing. Okay, this thing. We want to do high income group and good credit score. Okay, both the things we want. How will we do that? Anybody? We want to ask user first of all. We want to ask the user score, your income group. Income group we want to ask. How will we ask him? Tell me.
Input. Using
Yes.
input.
Float input.
Yes. Ask him income group. Okay. Please enter. So you will understand 3-4 concepts in one program. Please enter your income group, either low, high. Okay, we're telling him either type low or type high. Okay, put colon, give some space, let him enter. Second thing, what we want to need from him, and again, is it fine? I've written perfectly. Is this error? See, I've put a space here. Remember, it's error. It's not allowed.
Underscore.
Put underscore. Yes. Okay. So next thing, what we need? We need credit score. Credit underscore score. And this time the credit score we want in numeric digit. Yes. So put it int. Yes. Good. Int input. Again, put function. Please enter your credit score. Okay. Done. We will ask him. He will enter. Let me enter. Okay. He's asking the income group. By default, I forgot it is written. I just read it is written high. Okay. A capital HIGH. Okay. I type small I. Intentionally, I'm doing that. Remember, intentionally, I'm doing that. Intentionally, I'm typing in the low. It is asking for high, but I'm taking HIGH. It may happen, no? It may happen. I may do a small letter or capital letter. Or for simplicity, let's it will become a complex then, but it's easy. Let it be. Okay, that's fine. Hi, I entered. And credit score, suppose I entered 450. Fine. Both the things are stored in the variable. No issue with that. Now, what I want to make this income group independent of whether he has entered capital letter or small letter. I want to give him freedom. I want to give him freedom. Enter whatever way you want. I will handle it later on. Tell me what should I do? Remember, there were two functions I studied yesterday.
Yes,
Remember?
case fold method.
Yes. Case fold or lower method. Okay, both will do the same task, right? So we can do that processing here. Income underscore group equals to income underscore group. Okay. Dot case fold. Is it fine? Or I
Yes,
can
sir.
do dot lower as well. Okay. So irrespective, he enters in capital letter or small letter, I will always have small HIGH. So I will use small HIGH always in the comparison. Okay. Done that. Now come here. Now go to your code. Okay. My condition is income group should be high. And credit score should be at least greater than or equal to, let's say, 350. Okay, at least 350. Let's make it 400, whatever you want. Only then I will say he's eligible for the credit card. Otherwise not. Okay, so both the conditions should be simultaneously true. So what I will do now, remember, here comes my savior, the if condition. If what condition you want to check? Remember, what you want to check first of all?
Income group is high.
Group is high.
Yes. Okay, so I'm taking income group. Now I'm doing equalism, right? So equal is a string. Remember, it's a string, right? I'll type
Yes, sir.
HIGH. Is it fine? Please check it. Is it okay?
Okay.
Everyone, please tell me, is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next,
sir.
next condition I want to check. Simultaneously, both should be true. For simultaneous, remember what we need? AND function. AND operator, sorry. We need AND operator. And what we want to check? Credit underscore score should be greater than equal to 400. Okay. What I do personally, trust me, I put all the logical condition in one group. For example, this one condition in one bracket. This is my personal favorite, not mandatory. I repeat, this is not mandatory, but for my understanding, so that I understand what this will return, what this will return. Okay. It's not mandatory. If I don't put this bracket, it will run fine. But I prefer this way, so that when I'm troubleshooting, I can check easily where the mistake is actually happening. Is it fine? But not mandatory. It's up to you. But I prefer to separate each condition by parenthesis so that I can understand later on what is happening. Is it okay? Right?
Okay, sir.
Now everything has been done. Now put a colon here. Now put a colon. You can do one more thing. Entire expression is there. This is entire expression. So you can put one bracket here. You can put one bracket here. Again, not mandatory. But now it justifies whatever in this bracket is, this is one expression. So user who is going to read it will understand, okay, this is one expression under this bracket and this bracket. Within that, there is one expression and one expression. Again, nothing of this was a mandatory. But I did it so that I can understand later on whenever I'm going to troubleshoot. Okay. If this is the case, I'll print, hey, you are eligible for the loan. Okay. If the condition fails, then I can do, remember, I want to type else. So else, if I type here, remember it will come inside the if, but I don't want, I want the condition to be failed. Then move to the same indentation as the if and type else. Else, what I want to do, put colon again in the same else, print, sorry, you are not eligible. Okay. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see
Yes.
how many things you grouped in one statement. This is how programmers write their expressions. Your past knowledge will come into the picture now. Whatever you have studied, right? So I'm running it. Let me check. Fine. Because what? He entered high and the score of 450. Let me run this again. Let me type low. Okay. And let me type credit score to be, let it be high. Let it be high. The limit has been set to 400. Let it be 450. So I'm making one condition to be fail, one condition to be high. And as we have put an AND operator, remember, even if single condition fails, he will not be eligible. Remember? So I'm putting there, running this control and running this one as well. Can you see? One condition failed and he's gone. Is it fine, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
In case we want, if he satisfies even one of the condition, even if he satisfies any one of the condition, anyone means low, means he's high, or score of 450. If we make the condition like that, in that case, what we have to do? Remember, if any one condition is true, make the output true. Which operator you will go
Or-
use? Yes.
Or,
Yes. I hope things are clear with everyone.
yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
I think I'm stopping for the day, and I hope the session was meaningful with for everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
I will just say, please keep practicing. That is the main thing. Keep practicing, because very soon we are going to go to the for loops, while loops, then functions, and then basic Python will be covered. We'll go to the then pandas and everything, file handling and everything. Okay. So I'm